No matter how well you plan your projects, every knitter is at some point going to find themselves with this scraps. Just little pieces or big pieces or medium pieces of different types of yarn from different projects, from different colors. And I don't know about you, but I keep them all. And as a conscious knitter, someone who wants to use every little bit of yarn that I have, and especially this year where I've made myself a promise that I am going to do my best to only work from my stash, use up as much as I can instead of buying new yarn. And that includes the scraps, the bits and pieces, the bobs, the little remnants of yarn that are part of my stash. And that has proven to be difficult, especially because obviously all these different scraps from different projects are different weight yarns, different types of yarn, different amount of yarn, even like different. Sometimes I get a lot of scrap left over from a project, maybe even almost the skein. Sometimes it's a teeny whiny bit of it. So it's made me very conscious of the yarn that I'm using and how, and also I think creative and trying to find more projects kind of out of my regular rotation or queue where I just try to fitting all these different scraps in. And so I decided to put together a list of some of the patterns that either I've made before or I found that are helpful to use up all these scraps. I'm trying to find as much as possible individual smaller projects that use the least amount of yarn possible, and that even if you don't have enough of one skein to make them, maybe you could use more than one. And not so much the scrappy ones, although maybe I'll throw one here and there, because there are a lot of patterns out there that are like on purpose using scraps. But even those, I find whenever I try them, like a sweater that uses scraps, you end up needing to buy at least one main color. And my goal is like you don't need any extra thing, and maybe there's different weights of yarn so that there's a project for everyone. I'm also trying to include different skill levels, so somebody who's more a beginner but still has knit enough that they have scraps, and someone who's more advanced can find something in it. With all of that said, let's look at the list of knitting patterns that use as much as you can of your scraps. Starting with a very beautiful one, and I've mentioned this one before in other videos, but this is the Headband with a Twist by Mirella Moments, and this is a headband using brioche. Don't be scared about the brioche, it's very easy, and in fact it's a really good pattern to practice your brioche if you're not very familiar with the stitch. And it uses DK yarn, which is very common yarn used for a lot of types of projects, so possibly you've had some of it in your stash. And it uses less than 100 yards, which is pretty good. Like I said, it might be more of a almost full skein for some type of DK yarn, or half of a skein. However, you could use more than one color and it would easily look fine. You could even do 2-color brioche, and this is such an easy pattern because it's really just a rectangle. And honestly, I've made so many of these and I don't have them with me because I've given them all away. They're really good gifts. Kind of in a similar type in the sense that it's a pretty simple pattern. It could be addictive. It's the Sophie scarf by Petite Knit. I think a lot of these really thin scarves are very in lately. I've seen a lot of them, a lot of patterns similar to them, and this one only uses 100 to 140 yards and also DK. So again, it's a little more, but I think it would be very easy to make it more than one color, and especially because you can make it whatever length you want it to be. So if you want it to be longer, if you want it to be shorter, and you're like making more of like a little bow, or even use it on your, even though it's a scarf, I think you can also use it on your head. You can use it to like tie your hair. I think this is a very versatile project, and it's mostly garter stitch. So I think this is a very beginner friendly pattern as well. If you've only just learned to knit and you can do decreases and increases as the basic skill in the knit stitch, you can do this pattern. So for everyone asking me if this is a beginner friendly, yes it is. I do recommend that you try it, even if you're not looking for using your scraps, even if you're just trying out knitting, or you're in one of your very few first projects, then I think this is a good one to start with. The next couple of patterns are an example of something that I recommend doing a lot with your scraps, and I have been doing it lately, which is baby patterns. Even if you don't have a baby around, or anyone, or yourself, or anyone to gift it to, I promise you will find a recipient. I'm always making these with my scraps and then give them in the way to friends having kids, or even donating them to hospitals and stuff, especially if you make the newborn size, because they use the least amount of yarn. And there's something about baby patterns that is so just fun, because they're like teeny tiny clothes. They use almost no yarn, like very few yards, and you end up with like a full finished thing, like that a human can wear. And I'm always like amazed by how small they are. But I do recommend, and I did this too when I was learning, if you've never knit a sweater, I recommend that you try knitting a baby sweater first, because like the stakes are kind of lower. Even if it is not the perfect size, it'll fit some child sometime. It'll be a lot faster, so you're not likely to get bored. So in general, I recommend baby projects for using up your scraps. Specifically, a couple that I've been doing, because they use so little yarn. So it's very helpful for when you have like this little yarn left, and like it's not enough to do basically anything, but sometimes you can do this type of project. So the first example I'm going to give you is the Perfect Newborn Socks by Tabitha Gandhi, and this is a free pattern as well, which extra plus. And this is a very versatile newborn sock. It comes with two options, so you could do just ribbon, or you could do, I think it comes with like a beautiful cable design on it. Obviously you can customize how long or short you want them, and it comes with different sizes, so you don't have to make the newborn size. You can make larger sizes, but the newer one uses the least amount of yarn, less than 100 yards. It's really great. This is very good for using up your sock scraps, especially when you don't have much, when it's just like a tiny bit left. You could even make not matching socks, honestly. Like if you had that little yarn, you can make one sock with one yarn, one sock with another, and then just keep making socks until you've used up all your scraps, and you will find a recipient, I swear. And if not, there's a lot of organizations that take donations, and I'm sure they'll be happy to have your socks. So really, and it's a finger and weight yarn pattern, so I really recommend it for using up all your sock yarn pieces, bits and pieces, and leftovers. Another pattern that uses DK yarn, so if you don't have as much fingering but you have DK, and this one it's even like it, because this is just for a newborn, and it's also a free pattern. It's called the Teeny Tiny Knit Mitts by We Knit Together. Again, free. They're these itty bitey baby mittens. They're so cute, and they use less than 50 yards. I think this is probably the one pattern that I found that uses the least amount of yarn, and you end up with these baby mitts that are super cute, definitely for newborns. But this is the type of thinking that you can do to find scrappy yarn projects in which you can use the entirety of your scraps. So this is how I'm getting at that point where I'm like, I don't want any little bit of yarn to be left in my stash. I want to use every single part of it, and I have been making these, and honestly, they're super cute. Another option for DK yarn, and also for about 100 yards, and then something out of the box, different and unique as well. It's the December Bow by Petite Knit. This one's not free, but I think it's worth it. And it's basically this beautiful bow that you can knit. I really love it. They have examples of it with people wearing it on their hair, and obviously I cannot do that. I mean, unless I put it on like some sort of headband. But I think you can attach any kind of hair tie to it. I also think it would be very cute as a Christmas decoration. Like you could use it as a Christmas topper. You could use it as just for decorating a tree. Like if you made a bunch of these, I think that would be gorgeous. Or just like a decoration. You could even use it to decorate, like if you are wrapping gifts and you want like a very original type of bow that you could reuse. You could use a knit bow. That would be very fun. And again, it's under 100 yards. I think it would look really cute. It's also DK yarn, so this type of yarn and this amount, I think this is probably about 100-ish. So very cute, really good gift, really good decoration. I think this is a go-to pattern for using up scraps like this. talking a lot about DK yarn, and I've honestly, especially for the patterns that are not wearable, that like the bow, you can probably even use worsted yarn, honestly, because there's no, it's not important on the gauge. It might just look a little larger, but I'm trying to find as many variety as I could with the weight of the yarn so that people could use all types of scraps. So I have another option for super bulky yarn that could possibly also work with just like bulky yarn, like not the extremely bulky, like it could be more than one. And this is actually a pattern that I designed a while ago. It's one of my first patterns. It's also a free pattern, and it is the Bumblebee hat. It's one of my warmest hats, and it only uses about 100 to 106 yards. I think this would be a really fun one to do as a gift as well. The one I have, I wear it all the time. It kind of is already old looking because I wear it so much, and it's my warmest hat just because of the super bulky yarn. So if you've got any super bulky lying around, maybe not scraps, but you have a skein that you don't know what to do with, like that was gifted to you or they left over from another project. I know some people really like the super bulky yarn, the like rubbing kind of yarn. Then you can try it. You make a hat. There's a lot of hat patterns, but this one's free, and this is my pattern, and I totally recommend it. It's really cute and just a good option for under 100-ish yards. Another option for something out there, different, not the same thing, staying away as much as possible from sweaters or something like that that uses a lot more yarn. But this one's really cute, and I kind of want to make it for myself, regardless of or not if I make it with scraps, though that would be ideal. And this is the Nutcracker color by Northside Knit Co. It uses 100 to 160 yards and VK yarn. And basically, it's like a little collar that you can put on top of any outfit, so make it look like you're wearing like a actual shirt or something. So you could wear it over a sweater, you could wear it over a shirt. The example they have is like a little girl wearing it, so you have a really cute kids pattern as well. And I don't know, I just think it's like really like feminine and cute and simple and sweet, and I really want to make more collars. I specifically looked for a collar pattern that could be very easily to make and versatile, and that didn't use that much yarn. So I think the nice thing about this is that it uses like a different color for the edge. Of course, you can make it whatever color you want if you want the whole thing to be solid. But because of that, you could use 2 different types of scraps and build your own color. And you could even make more than one and kind of wear them depending on the outfit. They're really cute. I think this one's like Christmas also themed, but not necessarily. You could just, it'd be a cute thing to wear anytime. And yeah, I think this one's more towards like the vintage side of me that I really enjoy. So it's maybe not for everyone, but I think it's really cute. And I did want to end with one pattern for specifically like scrappy, using scraps, that calls for scraps, that is versatile like that. There's a lot of patterns out there that do that specifically for blankets. I have tried a few here and there, crochet and knit, and you could do, you know, like crochet squares, or you could do like literally like just back and forth garter stitch or something like that. But this one I think is very unique and also versatile because you don't need a lot of the yarn to like add to it. And I think you, as you knit, you attach yarn as you go. So you never are gonna end up like having to sew a million parts. And what I'm talking about is the Northeasterly blanket by Skeinanigans. And it talks about, it recommends fingering. Probably you could do also maybe DK yarn weight. Fingering is a recommendation, but because it's scrappy, I think as long as you stick to the same, whatever scraps you have the most, the weight, you could do it probably, and you just be a little larger or smaller. And of course, any yardage is needed because it is all about scraps. And this could be a project that you can keep in the back of your project bag and then just like add to it as you finish a project and end up with scraps. And that way you wouldn't have any scraps left as long as you mostly use the same type of yarn or weight. Like for example, if you knit a lot of socks or you knit with a lot of fingering weight, you could, every time you finish a project, just add on to it. So it's a very cute pattern, and beautifully designed and different, which is the part that I liked. So if you want a little bit more of a challenge and not something just like back and forth, and that could be more customized, I think I would go with this blanket. I've meant to do this blanket a lot, but my problem is I think I mostly have DK leftovers, some fingering, but it's usually the tiny ones, so that's why I've been doing the baby projects instead. But for somebody who does a lot of sweaters or something like that, you could try using them for this type of pattern. So those are some of my cute small projects that I've been making and recommending and saving for using up scraps. I hope that they're come useful to you, and if you have any other recommendations that you want to put in the comments for other people, please go ahead and do so. These are the ones I found that works for me and that are versatile enough and that come in all different types of levels and yarn types. So I hope that they help you use up as many scraps as you can so that you don't end up with so many of these in your stash. Please like and subscribe so that I can keep making projects. I know I've been a little bit quiet over here, just been busy, but I have a lot of project ideas coming up and a lot of exciting stuff. So please stick around if you want to hear more patterns, more projects, more reviews of projects and patterns and vintagey style stuff. I post all of that and I try to be around at least once every 2 weeks. So I'll see you around on the next one. Happy knitting!